Hash Hush and Circle Up.
Welcome to On, the Hash House Harrier podcast for interviews, history, and stories. I'm your host, Ra. Today on the podcast, we have a guest interviewer. Run to Eat makes an audio podcast with a hasher who started over 50 years ago and a founder of one of the most famous kennels, the Frankfurt Hash House Harriers. Enjoy.
Tell me your name and what is your mother hash?
Aha. Das ist schon schwierig. My name is Alfred Zuber. My name card. You got it? Okay. The first hash I joined was in Persia, but I was already maybe once running in Taipei. That was in the 70s, 1974. But there is no record. I have a few papers where some people wrote what happened with the last hash and when there is a next hash. And they waited on a copy machine where you had to, what in English, was like a steel pipe, and there was the letters on it. And you could make it. Was no normal copy machine was available. So this was a hand-operated copy machine.
Printing press.
Printing. And that was in 1973. I was the first time there. And I only joined the two hashes there. But this was man-only hash.
Okay.
Man-only hash. Same as later in Persia, Teheran. And in Teheran, we founded the Isfahan hash. From Teheran, some guys came and we started the Isfahan hash. But that died when the Shah left the country and Khomeini came. So all these activities were forbidden. That was it. But from 79, I came directly to Iraq.
Oh, wow.
Well, from Khomeini to Saddam Hussein. And there we could hash without any problems. And this foundation of the Baghdad hash, started 1980. And that lived until Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait. And then the Americans came to interfere. They were chasing Saddam Hussein until they found him and killed him. Then also the hash died. Even the Americans, they said, we make the hash again in the green zone. The green zone. That was an area where the Americans were safe.
Okay.
Baghdad. They could only run the same trail every week. We had in Frankfurt, because in Frankfurt was a strong community of Americans, and we had some of them in Frankfurt in the hash. Very nice people. And sometimes visitors came from Baghdad, and I was interested in that because I was the one from our company who was the longest time in Baghdad, 7 years. And in that time, when a new hash was founded, like in Frankfurt, then they go back in the history, who found it, and which hash he was running. This means the way back to find the people which found it. They found Baghdad, and Baghdad found Teheran. But I don't know yet who founded Teheran hash. And this is a drawing which was several meters long, where somebody wrote all this information in.
Wow.
Neptunus, he should know these people.
Okay.
So if you need the very beginning of the hash in Euro, I only remember Italians were the first after the war who started hashing, but I don't know in which town. If it is in the north, maybe in Milan or Verona, or I don't know. I only know the Italians were the first ones who started after the disaster of the World War, especially in Asia also, where all the hashers, where 90% of the hashers died, and only a handful remained. And they also started in Malaysia again. But this is known by the mother hash people. In Euro, there was a start of the British Army in Rheindahlen. Some places where British military occupied Germany.
Okay.
There was a British zone.
Oh, yeah.
There
in
was
Berlin,
an American
was,
zone.
Yeah.
A little bit French zone, and the Russian zone on the other side of the Iron Curtain. There are records about that, but this was not immediately after the war. It was not in 1945. And unfortunately, as I heard once, have this British, the Americans were at that time not interested. I don't know why.
They didn't want hashing?
At that time, no.
Okay.
They don't know what hashing is. But the hash house harriers, this is a British invention. And then where the British were occupying parts of Germany, they started from their bases without Germans, only British. They started hashing in their area. And then after the years, maybe some German employees joined also. But these details I don't have. That was the 50s, 1950 up to the end of maybe until 1960 beginning. And it was not Rheindahlen. That was the main point where they hashed. But I don't know if they had also others. They had no records. They did not write records. They just go out on Monday, always on Monday. They were jogging, having beer, and that's it. No records. It's very difficult, probably.
Yeah, that's why they're trying to get the records. When did you founded Frankfurt Hash? When was that, and what made you decide to?
When I came back from Baghdad in the year 1987,
Okay.
it was double-decker and me. We wrote letters to all consulates in Frankfurt. You know, British, of course, most important. And also to all airlines and some of the big banks. Frankfurt is a banking. And then we said, we will run the first run in Frankfurt. Was it, I think, in March. And there were 80 people coming.
Wow.
80 people. Some from my company, which you know, Jürgen Decker had some friends. We have no embassy, Frankfurt. We have only consulates. So from the consulates and from the airlines, and we have done the first run. The second run were only half of them coming again, because some of them have to work, and we have to find out which day and what time is most reasonable that people have time. But then developed, and we have records about it. We have lists who was here and how many people came, and so on. For that date, 1987, I was only 1 year hashing there, but then it was built up by its own, and I was in Africa 5 years in East Africa. I joined the hash there, also in Tanzania, in Zambia, until the project was finished and we go home. What next? Yeah, I need my...
Where did you go from Africa?
From Africa, I go to Korea, South Korea. There was one guy here.
Yep, he hashes in Seoul.
We had a small discussion. Okay. In Korea, the hash was well established. From the history, and now comes the wolf. That was the first time I had contact with a wolf, because the wolf was 5 years in Korea. As a Lufthansa man, he had to change every 5 years somewhere else. But in Korea, he found his wife, and he was hashing only with the traditional hash, only men. It was also by. But in Africa, we had already called it a family hash. This means ladies and children only twice a year were allowed. Otherwise, only adults on the hash. But in Korea were then many hashes founded by the Americans. The south side of Seoul, this area where the nightclubs were for the Americans, and many places. But I joined the Osan Air Base. Even as a German, I needed always special permission to go in. But then I got a letter from the commander that I'm allowed at the gate to go in. And that was a good time then. Normally I was the only non-American.
To close the circle, here's the hash anthem sung by Mother Hash.
Sweet